Hey guys, Artistry Kid here, and today we're going to be doing part 2 to What If the Gunpowder Plot Exceeded. Now, if you haven't seen part 1, you gotta, because none of this is going to make sense if you don't. So, let's just start off part 2. We left off with war in Europe. England had just invaded Edinburgh in a way to drive out the Catholics, causing the Catholic powers in Europe to declare war on them and its ally, Prussia. The Battle of Edinburgh would be a bitterly fought battle as England would begin to use scorched earth tactics on the Scots in order to drive out the Catholics, causing the Catholics to fight back even harder, making sure that no Protestant would step a foot forward on their land. Meanwhile, France would begin to march its more professional army to Hanover, fighting a couple of militiamen, easily kicking out the forces there, as Prussia would begin an invasion of Bohemia. As well as that, the Spanish would begin to help the Scottish with their naval and manpower, helping push the English out of Ireland. Prussia would try and enact a decisive defeat against the Austrians, trying to push them out of the war, but they wouldn't, surrender that easy, so the French and Austrians would begin to converse onto Prussia. Meanwhile, the Pope would begin to supply the Catholic side with both financial and moral support. Prussia would begin to realize that it had to retreat and fight for Berlin, as Berlin would begin to get encircled by both the Austrians, who have already taken Silesia, and the French. As well as that, England would begin to be on the retreat, realizing that its forces couldn't really take Edinburgh and that the Scots were fighting far too hard. Along with that, Spanish troops begin to break through the south and have already kicked the English out of Ireland. Spanish and Scottish troops would begin to chase the retreating English forces, while Prussia would try and break the siege, which would see absolutely no success, as they would eventually just call for peace. Meanwhile, England would see further chaos, as France could finally focus its full power on invading England. It would make a small landing, but it wouldn't really be enough. Eventually, England would see the woes of the war and finally sue for peace. France would get all of the English-American colonies. Meanwhile, the Scottish-Irish Union would occupy Hanover for some time, but eventually free it. Prussia would be forced to give back Silesia to Austria, and Spain would have to get war reparations from England and Prussia, ending the war. As England began to see pro-Catholic change in government, that would see a mass migration back to England and at some point maybe an exodus of English people from Scotland, as Scotland didn't really want all these English people, fearing that it would Englishize their country. Along with this, the war reparations and the debt of the, war material used during the war would throw the treasury into complete debt, and the empire not existing anymore wouldn't help the situation, as they couldn't really pull resources from anywhere else, and couldn't have the resources to make a new empire. Realizing the likelihood that England would ever pay back its war debts, Spain would just decide to go with an easy solution: give America the East Coast to make them pay for it, which would better relationships between the two of them and get a quick buck. Meanwhile, France, also realizing it wasn't going to get money out of England anytime soon, began to tax its colonies really heavily, which would anger the peasantry in Quebec. In American and French Revolution way, the peasantry would begin to rise up and arm themselves, beginning to force the high class and soldiers out of the major cities, starting to gain a lot of land. They finally decided to declare independence, finally united into the Federation of Quebec. America would hold its sympathies with France, putting the final nail in the coffin, creating this whole disaster for France even worse, as providing them with, ammunition, weapons, and money would begin to ruin the whole French cause, and France would begin to see this war as lost. So they do the only reasonable thing and, call for a ceasefire. The Quebec Federation would get anything north of the Ohio River, as America would take anything south of it, making them to the new allies in what they would see as the new powers of North America. And with the French, First Colonial Empire completely destroyed, that would throw them into even more chaos, as they already had debt. But on top of having to, deal with the debt lost from the colonies, they would see immediate revolution. Funny enough, Austria would be the most stable place in Europe at the time, Kind of ironic given their, known historic stability. Prussia would begin to enact a policy of, hey, we gotta get better than them again, looking for glory once again like they once had, while France would begin to see a revolution between liberals and monarchists. And England would begin to see the beginning stages to a civil war, second one, or third. I'm not sure which one they're on right now. It would all begin with the mostly Catholic North and West declaring independence from the South of England. Along with this, Prussia would begin to, betray the Holy Roman Empire by invading German states in a mass conquest, seeking to completely crumble the Holy Roman Empire. Austria would do something, but it was already busy helping the French with that whole liberal thing, as they didn't want liberal ideas spilling into their empire. And there Europe was, back into chaos like it always is. Anyway, guys, this seems like a good place to end off the video. Like if you want to see a part 3. Comment if you want to give me any scenario ideas you might want me to see. And subscribe if you like my content. Anyways, guys, I'll see you guys later. Bye.